Scott Dixon is your new IZOD IndyCar Series champion for 2013. Stay tuned for remarks from him and team owner Chip Ganassi at the post-race press conference.
Scott, what a season and what a race tonight. First, walk us through tonight's race.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Having to start back in the pack a little bit. I moved up, I think, on the initial lap, and then kind of had a few issues with the balance of the car and being back in the pack. We seemed to lose the balance a bit with understeer, and I think for us it was more about maintaining. I could see still the leader, and I was checking in with the team to see how fast the leader was, sort of getting away. Because the biggest thing I think when you're in that position is just trying to make sure that you can stay on the lead lap, and the pack was still, still pretty compressed. So sort of just maintain. We worked on the car a little bit. We tried changing some tire pressures and working with the bars and the weight jacker, and didn't really find the balance until sort of about lap 80, maybe 100 as late as 100. So once we got the balance set and the car was good, we were able to move up and really contend. And I think we were one of the better cars out there. Willpower did a great job tonight. He was extremely fast and was just kind of hooked up. He could run on the bottom, he could run on the top, and pick where he needed to go, and had straight out speed. So he was going to be tough to beat, but maybe in the right scenario we could have done it. But yeah, the crunch sort of came towards the end where I wasn't aware. Apparently we had an overheating issue for quite some time with the engine. Last year we had a similar issue here, and we had a overheating alarm come on, and I had it on for like the last 50 or 60 laps. And when you have an alarm on, you can't see anything that's on your dash, so you can't control the weight jacker or anything like that. So this year I made sure they took it off, but I didn't know there was a problem. So I guess that was kind of a good thing. When I knew there was an issue was when they were pitting me out of sequence. Going into 3, they just started yelling pit, 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 and I knew we had a problem. So didn't know the extent of it, but then to catch that yellow, and then to understand under that yellow that Helio had an issue as well and lost a lap, was the perfect scenario. So it was just sort of maintaining the car for the rest of the night. They tried to pull as much as they could out of the radiator and some of the side pod off, I think, as well, to try to help cool it. And the engine ran okay towards the end. It was still getting pretty hot, but it was going to be pretty tough to lose it at that point with sort of 15 laps to go.
Scott, given the highs and lows of the season, how gratifying is this championship?
Yeah, it's pretty. When you've won a couple, they're all very different. The first one, I think I was young and just didn't really understand what I had won. It was the first year in the series with the team. Kind of, I don't know, my perspective when I was 22 or 23 of what I actually did to what I understand now is totally different. I think the competitiveness of the series has gone through the roof since the merge in 08. 08 was a dream year. We got married in 2008, won the Indy 500, and won the championship. It's pretty hard to beat that. So this year I think has been far different, just in the fact that mid-season we didn't think we had a shot at the championship. I remember having a conversation with Helio after Iowa. Was at the media day. I spoke of this where I was like, man, you need to watch out, because he kind of pissed me off a little bit in Iowa. I was like, I'm not in the championship, so don't do that again, because otherwise I can maybe hinder your championship. And it's funny how it's it turned out to be us fighting it out in the last few races. And I feel for Helio. He ran a strong year. He's a hell of a competitor. He's a high energy person, and I've been in that situation before, and it sucks. So I want to thank him for having a great race tonight and keeping it clean and pushing as hard as he could. But yeah, the year, I think that tonight's race kind of summed up how our year was. It was very up and down, and in the end we came out on top. So that's the important part.
Thanks. We'll go ahead and open it for questions, starting with Bruce.
when Chip was in here, he thought the 5-year thing was kind of a validation of your tenacity as a race driver, that you've been able to win championships at various stages of your career, and at your age, you're still quite young. So talk a little bit about how gratifying it is to, it's not like your championships came all at once, they've come at various stages of your career.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't lay me off for 4 years and then bring me back on the first. But you know, we've come close many times. You know, I think in the last, you know, since '06, we've had a great shot at winning this championship, and we've come up shy a few times. And you know, lucky enough for our team that Dario's been, you know, he took 3 of those. You know, some I was in contention, and maybe 1 or 2 I wasn't. But you know, it's a special team. They dig deep. You know, Chip's a hell of a guy. You know, he's a hell of a competitor, and you know, you don't see that all the time in team owners. You know, it can get quite political and things like that. But you know, I know in the early years I was lucky on contracts. I think I kind of breezed through some situations where I was still hired, and then we fought through and took it when we needed to. So yeah, you know, it's the 5-year thing. You know, I think it's just a coincidence. You know, I think some of those instances in those years that we were fighting for the championship could have turned out different, but they didn't. So you know, it's nice to know that we've been in the hunt, you know, plenty of times.
I know you're not one to toot your own horn, but do you think you get enough credit for your driving skill, especially in such a diverse series?
You know, I've always been a guy that sort of, you know, I think recently I've probably spoken out a little more than that I used to, but it hasn't been on stats or results. You know, I don't know. I think I'm kind of one of those people that, you know, once it's said and done, and you know, I've done with racing, and I can look back and you know, say, hey, you know, we achieved this, you know, or I achieved this, and you know, it's that's the time for that. For me right now, I love racing. I want to race. You know, it's whether it's the IndyCar stuff or the sports car stuff the team does. You know, I love being at the track. Love waking up thinking about it and wanting to go training for it and do all that kind of stuff. So, you know, no, you know, I'm not really a person that does that. So, no.
Great.
Well, if we could follow up on that, it's kind of incumbent on a champion to kind of help lead the sport too, and to be kind of out there for kind of be a banner carrier. Will you do that? Will you push people to kind of put you in spotlights to carry the IndyCar banner?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think it's. I'm not saying that, you know, I don't enjoy doing that stuff. I think, you know, from I think I have evolved as a person in a lot of ways from, you know, the 2003 championship, and I do understand that, you know, it's very important for the sport. It's very important for this sport, especially that's driving and pushing to come back. You know, to be out there and be in the spotlight, and I think the sport or IndyCar is you know, hopefully on the right track for making that happen as well. But yeah, no, you know, I do feel I'm up for that task. You know, is that my strong point? Maybe not. Is that something that Helio or some other driver may be a little bit better at? Maybe, but you know, first and foremost for me, it's being about a competitor and being, you know, the best I can as a driver. And
Pleased to be joined by Chip Ganassi, owner of Target Chip Ganassi Racing, and Mike Hull, managing director for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. Congratulations to your 10th IndyCar Championship. Chip, we'll start with you. Thoughts on Scott Dixon bringing home another championship to the team?
This one's pretty special, I have to say, because of certainly how our season started out. The fact that you know, Scott Dixon did it. You know, we had a tough beginning of the season. We had a tough Indy 500. We had a tough mid-season, and you know, obviously Honda turned it around at Pocono. Ups and downs of that all season. Ups and downs of the next thing started losing my father at one point. You know, his death that took a lot of wind out of my sails. And then of course the Sonoma incident and and the Baltimore incident. You know, we had a lot of things that this team just never. These guys, the guys on this team, this guy to my right, never gave up. Okay, these guys don't know the word give up. They don't know how to give up, and they just hung in there. Tonight, for 250 laps, Dixon, Mike Hull, those guys on that 9-car team never quit.
Mike, can you add to those comments? Another great season for you guys, especially the second half of the season here where it really picked up.
Well, I wish I was in a contract here with Chip. No, I'd only, well, I want to echo what Chip said, but I think that's the mark of the culture of Chip Ganassi Racing and has been for a long time. Statistically, you know, I can't remember what you actually said there, but we don't think too much about that, Tim. We don't think too much about that, to be honest about it. We think about it maybe as validation for what we do, whether it be an individual race or whether it be a championship at the end of the year, because we work for every day of the week, and race day, or in this case race night, are the most, today is why we're here. This is what we want to do. This is what we've chosen to do, and it's just so much fun to be able to do it as a group of people, as a team of people.
We'll go ahead and open for questions or curious.
After Helio had his issue where he was down a lap back, it looked like everything was working out well for Scott, and then the engine temperature started to go up dramatically. How were you guys able to kind of approach that, keep your cool, and keep his car running?
Well, I think we might have inhaled a little Valium there, and then decided that it was really important for us to understand the gravity of where we were in relation. We hadn't really worried about Helio all night, to be honest about it. We worried more about ourselves and staying clean and racing well and getting to the front, and we knew everything else would take care of itself. So then all of a sudden somebody gets out that arithmetic, the arithmetic for where he finishes, where we finish, and our car was running hot with about truthfully 50 or 60 laps to go. That's a long way. That's 120 miles to the end of the race. And we pulled a blocker. We were freaking out. And when Helio had to stop in the pits, that was our signal that we were able to stop too. And it was fortunate when we stopped, we stayed on the lead lap. That was the big denominator to the end, even with the yellows that came after that. And I'd have to say, as hot as the engine got, Honda did what we wanted them to do, what they wanted to do, and that was build an engine that didn't break under severe conditions. And Chip alluded to it. What they've done for us, really, it started for us. We saw where we were going together starting in Detroit this year. We saw the progress they made. They really worked hard with our drivers to understand what drivers need to drive race cars with the power band of an engine. And all of a sudden, all the ills we had kind of went away. Our cars suddenly got better when the engine got better. So we're really happy about that. Tonight was testament to Honda, testament to Chip Ganassi Racing, and particularly testament to really a hardcore guy, Scott Dixon.
Chip, do you like the fact that it comes down to the 500-mile race at the end of the season, especially here?
I can't say that'd be my number one choice if I was up to me, but you know, it is what it is, and it's the same for everybody. So we accept it, and we accept it and act accordingly.
What would be your number one choice?
My number one choice would have been to end it in Houston. After we had the lead, I'd be perfectly happy stopping there.
Mike, actually following up on what Chip said, you got nailed back on both the Baltimore and the Sonoma incidents, but did the team ever wind up needing that focus to get back on track to perform at Houston?
You know what's the good thing about motor racing? When you have a good team of people and you run at the front, you know you're going to go back and run at the front again as a group. And I think everybody, including Helio, Helio had problems with Houston, didn't he? He had problems that were different from ours, but he still had problems. And I think when you're racing for wins and you're racing for a championship, those things happen to you. You just can't let them create roadblocks to stop you from the desired result, because you're going to get it if you run at the front.
Chip, Mike just called Scott a really hardcore guy. He might be the most undervalued, underappreciated, underwhelming champion anywhere. I mean, is it now time to establish him as really one of the best out there?
You know, I think so, Kurt. I think that's a good. I think that's a nice thing you had to say there. I think, you know, I was really pleased in the last few weeks when we took the points lead that, you know, what other people were saying, you know, within the sport. People like, you know, like Mike Knight back there. You know, Mike and I have a lot of history, and Mike had some nice things to say in his column about Scott Dixon, and people were tweeting. You know, people like John Barnes making tweets about, you know, good drivers, and you know, it takes. I think that means a lot. That means a lot to the people within this community. I think know what a talent he is, and you know what his you know, his number of wins and number of you know, wins among active drivers and all that. I mean, all those stats are up there. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I mean, obviously he's this establishes him certainly. I think you know, and you know, his championships. You know, 2003, 2008, 2013. You know, they didn't come like bang, bang, bang right in a row. So I mean, I think that shows you what a tenacious guy he is. You know, he hangs in there, and you know, we were close to a couple others in between there at times. You know, against his teammates and against Rogers guys.
Any questions in the terrace press box? Okay, we'll continue down here with Don.
Yeah, probably for Mike. In all the years that I've been following racing, it seems like a team like yourself or like Roger and Michael Andretti, your guys don't give up because they know that on any given weekend you can win. They know your drivers are capable of winning, so for them to put the effort in is obviously they know the weekend coming up there's a good chance that you're going to be on the podium, if not as a winner. So that's got to weigh, you know, in your favor, that you guys know how to pick the people that are willing to put in the work, and there's a lot of effort, even though you know you can win. There's a lot of effort that goes into these cars. You don't realize how much work is involved, but it's got to, at the end of the day, you go home and say, we're ready, we can win.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a question or a testimonial. You're absolutely correct. And when Chip put us all on board, we kind of came through almost. Tom Anderson was working for Chip when I came on board, and he'd laid a great foundation, and I was able to work with Tom for a long time, and we worked really, really hard to craft a culture that could race over the long term, not over the short term. Because I think really good there are really good drivers and teams that are put in combination, but it's when you start to change the drivers, it's when you start to change the people that work on the car and the resource. Chip in particular has worked really, really hard to give us what we need to do our job, and then it's up to us. And when we started, Penske Racing, clearly, in my estimation, Newman Haas was racing, and there were a couple others, but in my estimation, over time, Penske Racing, and still to this day, is the best team in motor racing. To compete against those guys, and in this case tonight, for me personally, to compete head-to-head with Roger, and have him come over as the checkered flag was falling and say congratulations. For me, that you don't know how much that means. So I'm happy that we've been in a position that we're in. I never thought it would be possible for me ever to work in motor racing and have this, to be able to do over a long period of time what we've done.
Hey Chip, could you talk a little bit about the job that Tagliani did for you tonight, and also kind of the transition? You've just won a championship with Honda, now you switched to Chevrolet. It must be kind of bittersweet.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, who can, I mean, I thought Alex did a great job tonight. You know, I mean, he did exactly what we told him to do. We sat down, we said, calm down, settle into the race, you know, calm down, just get going. You know, it's been a while since he's been in the car. And, you know, slowly but surely, he worked his way up, a pit stop, and by about the third stop, he was up at the front there. You know, the third or fourth stop, he was leading the race, and you know, got up there, and you know that you know, we're sitting there counting everybody. We're counting that laps led thing, and you know, that all has to do with the points there at the end. And you know, it was mission accomplished. He and Charlie both were just great, stellar teammates tonight, and you know, pushed everybody, pushed them around, you know, pushed all the competitors to have to perform, and that's what teammates do. And then like Dario too, Dario all season, you can't take away what he added to this effort all year. You know, I wanted to have him here, and the doctors wouldn't let him come, so I wanted to pick him up and bring him out here, and they wouldn't let me take him out of Indianapolis. But yeah, I mean, I thought Alex, I mean, that was a stellar performance in his part. You know, from not being in the car for a while, coming back to a high speed oval, into a new team, and to go up there and lead like he did, pretty good, pretty good. Yeah. And in terms of switching over to Chevrolet, you know, that's a business decision we made, and you know, they were fortunate enough to have a win tonight as well. They won the manufacturer's title. Honda wins the driver's title, so you know, it was good. Me personally, it probably couldn't have worked out better.
We'll take our last question from Bruce.
Chip, you mentioned the loss of your father earlier this year.
Yeah.
How big a kick would Floyd have gotten out of tonight?
I'm sure he's up there smiling down on us right now. He's, you know, he was a big part of my career and my life, and you know how much you know he and I really got to know each other through racing, and you know, you always see people in positions like this. They say, "Gee, I wish my mom or dad was here," and you know, I know what that feels like now. You know, he was a great guy. She was here.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Chip, Mike, congratulations on a great year and a great championship.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.